understand how motels can charge so much, because the place in Hill End was pretty run down, although you're kind of out of options there, so I do understand that one. But here in Katoomba, there are plenty of places to stay, and I'm sure here I am just paying for geography and location to the Three Sisters, because there is a chair in here that desperately needs to be replaced because it looks like it's got jizz on it. So, keeping it classy. I was gonna head down to see if I can see the Three Sisters, but I can barely see the other side of the motel. Oh well, I'd go for a walk anyway. Something tells me I'm not seeing the Three Sisters today. This actually happened last time I stayed in the area, and I was here with Marley, so we just spent the time playing frisbee. But I'm not all that hopeful. I don't think I'm going to be seeing anything. So as predicted, there is nothing to see here except for a few ghost trees, which is kind of cool. I must have had some kind of luck when I booked this writer's retreat, because I was under the impression this was just your average Airbnb with a phenomenal view, because when there's not very, very dense fog, you can actually see the Govet Canyon from here, which is going to be a sensational view when the fog clears. But for now, I have a tray of gluten-free goodies that they have delivered, and the fire is going because it feels like winter even though it's technically summer. And I'm going to get to writing. I'm going to start working on Project Australia. I just came from lunch/brunch in this beautiful place, which was like a glasshouse garden cafe. And I went there because I was waiting for the time to check in here. Looks like I'm gonna have an early dinner / fall into a food coma. But while I was having brunch, I actually made a ton of notes. It's kind of the first time I've done that in a cafe setting, and more often than not, I'm dining alone, and I actually really enjoyed that. I think it's a lot better than taking a computer with you. And I had a ton of ideas for Project Australia, so I am going to try and write some of that today. That wasn't really what I had intended to do. I had intended to work on book 3 and 4 of the Phoenix series, but the publishing for book 3, the Phoenix series, is going to be delayed because my cover designer has gone MIA. On one of the websites she's listed on, only one, it has a return date that was supposed to be the end of November. I've emailed her, haven't heard back. So I went back to check the website last night, and that return date is now the end of February. So I don't really know what's going on. I don't know if this is a pandemic side effect, but I guess this is kind of one of the perils of being a self-published author. You're kind of at the mercy of pandemics and of other people's schedules for things that you can't do yourself. I mean, I could go down a different alley, I could try different covers or a different cover designer, but I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to try and write, seeing I had a ton of ideas today already. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to enjoy my platter of lovely food in this beautiful Airbnb. I was really lucky to book this property from Airbnb. Apparently, it is normally a wedding venue, and because of COVID, they've been having back-to-back weddings because it is a beautiful 20-acre property, and because there is a massive canyon below with the beautiful Blue Mountain outlook, which would be just the most scenic spot to have your wedding and your wedding reception. And normally the actual home that I'm staying in houses 20 people, although today it's just me. They've said I can wander around in the other part of the house if I want to. I accidentally already did when I arrived. But this is an amazingly huge and varied property. Apparently they're also planning a Delta Goodrum concert here that was supposed to be this coming January, but because of COVID is delayed till next year. So I feel really lucky to have managed to get this place. It even has like a garden in the bathroom and a sauna. It is very cool, and they have a lovely dog called Bella who came and welcomed me, and it was just divine. And I'm hoping that I'm going to get a lot of work done here because the outlook is beautiful, even if at the moment you can't actually see the canyon below. It's currently hidden behind a very dense cloud of fog, which gives the bush a beautiful eerie quality, and I'm just loving it because fog is not something I have experienced a lot. So for now, I'm totally happy with it. I am hoping that it does clear in the next day or two because I would like to enjoy the view, but for now, this is just perfect, and I'm just gonna sit by the fire and get some writing done. My plan for Project Australia was originally to try and capture the amazing Australian landscape and the wildlife and put it into a book that kind of brings a lot of fantasy and magical elements to it. The only books and stories I know that kind of do the same sort of thing are things like Blinky Bill and Silver Brumby. Blinky Bill is a story about a koala, and honestly, I don't know a lot more than that. I tried to listen to it when I was driving my niece around as an audiobook, but the audio quality is not the best, and it also opens with the very graphic murder of some animals by humans, which was a bit much with a 4-year-old in the car. You know, the bloody, gory murder of an animal, I don't really need in the opening of a book. And it's kind of one of those things with audiobooks where if the narrator's voices are annoying, it puts you off really early, and that happened. As a kid, I was obsessed with the Silver Brumby. I mostly love the movie. I've tried to read the books a couple of times. I have recently read the first one again, and it's one of those ones that does go into a lot of description about the Australian landscape and the animals, but to me, it always felt like too much. I get lost in those descriptions, but that is sometimes something that I see happen because I'm dyslexic with certain styles of writing, that if they're too flowery or too descriptive and detailed, you lose me and I lose the actual story, and I just can't follow it. My primary issue with dyslexia was sequencing. So if there's too much detail, I lose the sequence of the story and have no idea what's going on. So my idea would be to kind of capture elements of those, but really bring in the fantasy and the magic and have it be an exploration of Australia. And I don't really know how else to explain it without actually giving you a synopsis of the book, which I don't have yet because I'm only in the early ideas phase. Today I wrote quite a lot of ideas down for it, and this story so far is changing a lot every time I work on it. So I don't really want to give you a synopsis or any more detail other than that because it's probably going to change. This project is in flux at the moment. It's not like the Phoenix series that I know exactly what I want to happen. I don't have like all the middle bits plotted and planned out. I have bits and pieces written down and ideas for scenes I'd like to happen. But the main plot points for the Phoenix series has always been set in stone. That was kind of a 2-year initial process. I initially wrote what became the first and the second book, The Hunted and A Night Rises, as one book, and then divided them up and added in a whole bunch of more detail. And as I was doing that, I realized I needed to have more of the world kind of defined, and things like the legal system and the newspapers and the schooling system and the boundaries of magic and how does it all work. And so I actually took probably about 2 years to sit and think about, like I was doing other things at the same time, but it took about 2 years for me to come back to the work, having thought through all of that, having made maps of the city, having really thought over the plot points and like deleted a lot of early stuff and found a new way that made a lot more sense with a lot less plot holes to get to the end point of where I want to be. But the end point was always there from the beginning. That was always part of the plan. But when I look back at those early sort of scribbles of a plan for the Phoenix series, it sucked. And now I actually think it's quite good. So it's kind of, Project Australia is kind of in a different place. It is in the early stages. But it is a different kind of process that I'm going through this time than with the Phoenix series, because I just feel like I have grown a lot as a writer and got a different style and a different way of telling stories, just from the experience of learning based on trying to write 150,000 word novels and having completed my third one now, and also going through the editing process. Like, as much as editing makes me want to poke my own eyes out, you do learn a ton from it, and it is a very valuable experience. So Project Australia is what I plan to work on today. I do have a lot of stuff still to do for the Phoenix series. I've still got to write the majority parts for books 4, 5, and 6, so I've still probably got the better part of 500,000 words, which is terrifying to think about, but I've probably got the better part of 500,000 words to write for that series to be completed. And I do want to focus on that more than Project Australia, but I figure while the vibe is hot, I'm going to follow it and write what's in my head at the moment rather than lose it. And that way I find I just get a better rhythm of a story, and often then I'll walk away from a project, come back to it, and I'll keep thinking, oh, I should put this in, this in, this in. I'll find I've already done it, and you kind of forget what you've written, and then that gives me a vibe of how well written it is and all of those sorts of things. So as much as I was planning on working on the Phoenix series for this writer's retreat, I'm going to start with Project Australia and then hopefully get to the Phoenix series, because I don't want to leave the readers that I have waiting too long. It's already been 2 years by the time the next book in the series comes out, between number 2 and number 3, and that is pandemic problems, really, is what that comes down to. But you know, like, I've had 9 months off work. I really need to be producing a little bit more, so this just needs to happen now. And now that the antibiotics have finally got rid of, well, hopefully got rid of my infection, and I am feeling like 5 billion% better, I'm hoping that I can be more focused and just get things done. Writing retreat update. We are here in Blackheath in the Blue Mountains of New South Wales. It is day 3 of the writing retreat, although it is only lunchtime. And technically I've only been here for 48 hours because you don't arrive until after lunch, but whatever. Day 3. So far, results have been a mixed bag. I got distracted from writing by reading this delightful book, Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. I started it at 2 p.m. yesterday and finished it at 2 a.m. this morning. Bloody loved it. There will be a review on my channel at some point, more than likely before you see this one, but it's not like I really plan these things, so anyway, the writing. I've probably only written a chapter so far, but I guess I read a whole book yesterday and I went for a bit of a wander, so you know, not too bad. But hopefully today can be a little bit more productive on the writing front. The weather today is actually on and off good. I went outside to write before because it was beautiful and sunny for like the first time since I left Dubbo, but like first time in a while. Anyway, so I went outside to write, and then promptly, as soon as I started writing, there was thunder and the heavens opened and I had to run back inside. So, you know, writing this morning was super successful. So anyway, now I'm going to have lunch and then get back to writing, and then hopefully edit book 3 in the Phoenix series and get it ready for formatting. Oh, interesting. I heard from my cover designer, and as I suspected, there were personal issues which are not mine to tell, and that is what has kind of taken her out of the mix, but thankfully she's okay. And so she's going to be able to do the cover for me for book 3 of the Phoenix series, which is lovely because it means I don't need to deal with the idea of recovering and restarting and all of that. But it's going to be a bit of a slower process, so it's probably not going to be until February that the book is ready to go with everything that needs to happen, and that's fine. It is what it is. It's not like I'm in a rush. Yeah, so that's the update. Being on this writer's retreat has just kind of got me more in the mindset of what I need to do. I still have to sort out the health problems that I'm dealing with at the moment, and that's going to take up some time. But this has kind of taken the focus off that, which is really nice because that was really stressful. But all in all, I didn't write as much as I wanted to, but I always have these ridiculously lofty goals of I want to finish editing this, and I want to write 6 chapters, and I want to film 8 videos, and you can never get it all done. But a short writer's retreat has just helped kind of get me going again and get back on the writing road. Part of the reason I didn't manage to get as much done as I'd hoped was because theoretically this was supposed to be a week's retreat, and because of various things, a lot of my writing time was actually taken up by driving in that first couple of days, so it's really only ended up being 3 days, but that's okay. It's been a lovely 3 days, and it's helped me refocus, which is the entire purpose of this writer's retreat as far as I'm concerned. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that you will subscribe to my channel and like this video. It really helps my channel grow and I would really appreciate it. Don't forget you can check out my books, The Hunted and A Night Rises, anywhere where books are sold. They're available in ebook and paperback, and you can also find me on Instagram and Twitter at Pip Coomes.